Welcome back to the Sales Revolution. I'm Ingrid Maynard, founder and managing director of The Sales Doctor. Today is a solo episode, and I will focus in this episode on the 10 qualities that make someone a great business development person or a fantastic salesperson. They're the qualities that I know we need now. So not 5 years ago, not even, I would say, 3 years ago, but right now in this market. So I'll expand on some of them. Some of them are pretty obvious, so they don't need descriptions. But if you would like a copy of these 10, please email in at admin@thesalesdoctor.com.au. All right, let's get started. Quality number 1, that the salesperson is available whenever the prospect is. It sounds, again, pretty obvious, doesn't it, that they should be available whenever the prospect is, and yet you'll find salespeople clock watching and thinking, do you know what, it's 5 o'clock, or, I don't really clock on until 8:30. But we know that our window of opportunity with a particular, especially when we're thinking about targeting the executive space, that a great window of opportunity to actually get them on the phone or to make an appointment with them is first thing in the morning. They're up, they're about, the day hasn't hit them yet, they haven't gone into their back-to-back meetings. Why wouldn't we be available when they are? If we really want their business, these are the things that we have to do so that you're available whenever the prospect is. If the prospect says, could you come out tomorrow at a certain time, and you can, why wouldn't you? Why would you say, oh, no, let's make a Teams meeting, or, oh, no, let's make it next week? You're going to jump at that opportunity. Here's what I'm not saying with this. I am not saying that you should drive 3 hours with an unqualified prospect where you have no idea whether or not it's going to win you business. I am not saying that. Nor am I saying that you should cancel something else that you've committed yourself to, because I think that that's not living with integrity, in just so that you can be available for a new prospect. What I am saying, though, is if you are available and you can, why on earth wouldn't you? I think since COVID, a lot of salespeople really lent on the argument that they could see more customers on Teams than they could if they were in person. And that's great. I always look at the outcomes, and I would say, well, if you're getting better outcomes by seeing more people on Teams, fantastic. But I think that the data would suggest that that's not the case. In fact, revenue in a lot of businesses has gone backwards. And that's because we're not understanding the power. We've forgotten the power of the face-to-face interaction and being available, being of service of when our client actually is. So that's number 1. Number 2, closely aligned, that they're willing to do whatever it takes, not just their best. There's a culture of mediocrity that's set in. And salespeople used to kind of sit outside of all of that. There was a celebration of high performance and of really stretching yourself, that, okay, I've achieved that, but what else can I achieve? I haven't seen that for a really long time. I'd love to see it again. But here's the other thing that we've become really kind of dependent on saying, oh, I'm doing my best. Well, that's great, and I'm not saying you're not. But if your best actually isn't enough to achieve the results, you need to do something differently, surely. And your best is only at a point in time, because your best yesterday might not be your best today. Your best 10 years ago, I hope, is different to your best today, particularly if you're continuing to grow and stretch yourself. So we can't rest on our laurels. We have to continue to be growing. And if our best isn't actually getting us the results, what else are you going to do so that you can get the results that you need to get? Because that's our job. We're the results generators. That's what we are. That's what we signed up for. Number 3, You're able to bring more opportunities into your pipeline through more activity. Activity, 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 activity. More calls, more video calls, more face-to-face meetings, better follow-up, more in-person conversations with more opportunities. Many, many years ago, when I started in the sales training space, one of the things that I found was that salespeople were using activity as their reason for getting results. So they would do something that's I hardly hear now, which is work the numbers. They would work the numbers. They would tell me that sales is a numbers game. I don't hear that anymore. And what they meant by that was, if I see enough of the right opportunities, often enough, and I show up in the right way and I get enough proposals out there, chances are I'm going to hit my targets. And you know what? That was right. The biggest argument I had back then was, yes, but your activity's stellar. Could you be even more effective if you added technique to that high level of activity? And that used to fall on deaf ears. So that was a frustration point for me back then, because they were used to doing what they were doing. I'm not seeing that. And I'm not also seeing people with great levels of technique anymore either. It's kind of like, well, do you want to buy? No? Okay. Now what? So we need to get cracking, people. We need to get out there and we need more activity, but more of the right activity and more opportunity brought into the pipeline. Without fresh water coming into the river, it turns into a swamp. Number 4, maximize the opportunities that they do have. They have multiple stakeholder engagement. They get more opportunity from each lead and customer, and then they make the next action within the existing meeting that they've got. So they never leave a meeting unless they've got commitment for the next action and they've booked the next meeting in the meeting. It's just so simple. But these great salespeople that we need right now are able to really squeeze out the juice in every single opportunity that they come across. That means that they're prepared, that they've really thought about how they're going to do that. They've researched the person that's in front of them, and their whole mission is, how can I either make this person my champion inside the organization, or how can I find out that little bit of information about their problem point, their greatest challenge, or their highest priority, so that I can tailor my approach to solving that for them or to helping them achieve that. Great salespeople know how to do that. Number 5, that we great salespeople align the way that they sell to the way that their prospects buy. Now, we might have a sales process, that's great, but what's the point in being rigid about it if it causes friction with the way that somebody's going to buy? So we need to have a little bit of flexibility around that, and we need to understand what the decision-making and the purchasing process is like for our customers or our prospective customers, so that we can align the way that we engage accordingly. So for example, if the part of the decision-making process requires other stakeholders to get involved, then I need to be armed with, okay, so am I going to be able to present to them? Am I going to be able to influence them? If not, if it's indirectly through my champion, how do I arm my champion with the information that they need in order to do what they need to do? And how long does that process take? How many sort of different channels does it need to go through? And so that will determine how I follow up with that client as well. So then it fits like a hand in glove. Number 6, they're able to ask the hard questions. They diffuse potential reasons not to buy so that they don't get blindsided. They hold the space with prospects and they test commitment. Now, that doesn't mean that you ask those hard questions in a brutal way or in a way that's going to destroy any level of trust or destroy the great rapport that you've built with somebody. But I am talking about asking questions that might be challenging for the prospect to answer, or that also forces the prospect to talk about the things that are really going on, that gets to the juice of where we can actually add some value to the business. Because if we're talking surface level, we're going to put back a surface level proposal, and those usually don't get up. They're nice, but they go in a top drawer, or they just get stored in an email and they're never acted upon. And it's when they tell you it's price, it's not. That's a nice way of saying it's not you, it's me in business language. But we must be prepared to ask those hard questions. Now, the other thing is we need to be prepared for what the prospect's going to tell us, potentially, why they can't work with us. And there's usually 5 key reasons. I'm not going to go into them now, but salespeople, you should, because you come up against the same 5 all the time. If you know that, why wouldn't you be prepared? And when I say prepared, I mean really expecting it, and then being able to dance with those areas of pushback or objection. The other way you can do it is you can table it first, handle it, ask a question, get it off from the consideration mindset, and then move on until you've cleared out all of the obstacles that could get in the way of them taking up your service offer. And the other thing too is we need to be able to test commitment. We need to check whether somebody's actually got any level of buy-in to our product or service at all. I mean, what's the urgency around this? What happens if they don't go ahead with us? If it's nothing really changes. Where's the urgency? It's going to be a nice thing that they might really like, but it doesn't mean that they're going to buy on it. That doesn't mean that they're going to take action. So we need to have those ways of testing commitment as well. Okay, number 7, they ask for the business and they create opportunities. Salespeople need to get comfortable saying, okay, so is this something that we're going to do? Now, I had this experience the other day myself. I asked a prospective, well, I'm going to call them a client, but it could end up being, a really lovely partnership. And I asked a series of questions, and my final question I just phrased as, this is a bit of a cheeky question, but, how open are you to considering me? And her response came back and reinforced this point. And she said, that's not cheeky at all. Of course, I would love to partner you. In fact, I hadn't thought of you for this particular thing, but now that you've asked, would you like to put in blah, 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 blah? And I kind of went, there you go. Proof's in the pudding. You've got to ask. Seek and you shall find. Ask and you shall receive. You need to be comfortable asking for the business. And you need to be able to create opportunities. You need to be thinking way ahead of your customer or your client to be kind of preempting some of the things that are coming around the corner so that they can be ready for those things. That might be something that they hadn't thought of, and that's your job, is to seed your own opportunities. Number 8, great salespeople believe in the value that they bring and in the solution that they're taking to market. Sales leaders, pay attention here. If you start hearing your salespeople telling you why they can't, chances are they've lost belief. Now, it might be belief in themselves and the value that they inherently bring. They've lost a little bit of confidence. They've lost their mojo. Or it could be that they've lost confidence in the company. There's a lot of pressure out there at the moment, and companies are really squeezing salespeople beyond almost within an inch of their lives. And I'm not making excuses for salespeople. I want salespeople to thrive, and I want companies to thrive. But I also want companies to understand the landscape that salespeople are operating within. And when the pressure and lack of support around delivery and the capability to get there isn't there from the company, what can happen is, 10, 15-year veterans start losing faith in the company. And when that happens, they just don't want to risk their personal brand and they will go elsewhere. And you don't want that level of knowledge and experience and relationship and trust building that's been established over that lifetime to just walk out the door because the company isn't doing its part in servicing their ability to, all they want to do is deliver their results to you. It's in your best interest, companies, to support salespeople. So sales leaders, listen out for that language and then try to get to the source of that as well. Number 9, they're so rehearsed that they can't get it wrong. So some of us practice until we get it right. What turns you pro is you rehearse until you can't get it wrong, that you've built such muscle memory within you that you're ready for anything. It's almost like knowing your times tables. When I was in grade 3, I had a teacher called Mr. Old, and he used to have these times tables posters, and at lunchtime, and so he'd have like 10 times 11, 10 times 12. You have the 10 times table, but there would be no answer at the end. You'd have to know that. So the idea was to go home, practice, and then you had to say your times tables in a certain number of seconds, right? And get it all right. And if you got it all right, he'd give you a certificate. Now that was a way of building muscle memory to the point where if anyone asked you any kind of multiplication question, you'd be able to, you had that muscle memory to just go to it. It's the same with salespeople, with objection handling, negotiation skills, opening up, question answering, how they're going to write their outcome-driven conversation plans, how they're going to do their quarterly planning, all of those things, or presentations for that matter, all of those things need to be so rehearsed until they can't get it wrong. And that requires some in-house practice. I was at a Vistage workshop earlier in the year in Queensland. It was with John Lindsay's group, and there was a member in that group, and I remember him saying, and it's burned in my memory, that he was in a family business, and he and his uncle every Friday afternoon would do role play for upcoming appointments the following week. And so they just practice asking each other questions so that they had them down pat. Can you imagine the confidence and certainty that is unspoken that comes through to the client when they go in front of them the following week? I mean, that sort of stuff is that's next level. That's what I'm talking about here. Number 10, they love what they do. They're driven from within, and they see every conversation as an opportunity to win or learn. There's no losing. But it does take a discipline. This part of the discipline building is to really analyze and reflect on everything that I'm doing as a salesperson. So how did I go? Did I win? How do I know that I won? What can I do to build on it? What do I need to do here? And if I didn't, how do I know that I didn't? What are the lessons from this? How do I build on those lessons? How do I fix this? And what can I take forward? There is no lose if you have that particular mindset. And if you love what you do, you don't even have to say, I love what I do. It's going to radiate out of every cell in your skin. I caught up with one of the best salespeople I have had the good fortune of meeting and training yesterday in Perth. And geez, he's a gem. He's an absolute gem, that man. And I just said to him, you love it, don't you? And he said, yeah, I do. Yeah, I really do. And it's hard at the moment. He's working with less, and his company, sounds familiar, asking him to do more. It is across the board. Doesn't matter what the industry is. I'm hearing the same thing from sales leaders and salespeople. But if you love what you do and you love people, you are way ahead. Now, as I said at the start, I have a diagnostic here. Now, it goes beyond just these 10 qualities, but if you would really love to find out where you sit within all of this, please email me at admin at thesalesdoctor.com.au to get a diagnostic so that you can have a look at this. Now, it's only one diagnostic per person. If you're a sales leader and you would like a diagnostic for your team, we can have another conversation, but please email me as well, because that will then enable you to align your coaching with where your team members are at, and you can see what the patterns are across your team. I want you to be successful. I really want you to smash it. I know it's been hard. I think it's going to get harder, and we need to arm you with more. And I'm on a mission to make sure I do my part in helping you with that. So I will see you next time on The Sales Revolution. God bless and take care. Okay, you've been listening to The Sales Revolution. I'm Ingrid Maynard. And to find out how The Sales Doctor can help your organisation to transform its revenue, growth and profit, visit us on our website at www.thesalesdoctor.com.au. I look forward to your company next episode. Bye for now.